Welcome. I am Crime Queen, and if you are joining us for the first time, it's the channel where we have fun with words and numbers, numerology to be precise. Okay, it's numerology. I just love, perhaps even just the word just really turns me on. Okay, so it's about having fun on this channel. This is Crime Queen's channel. In case you are joining us for the first time, you happen to just stop by, please hang around because we have some exciting content here to deliver. We are, of course, about spirituality and numerology. This is perhaps two gods that we are really working with at the moment, considering we are of 14 gods. Now that is another thing that may not have been spoken of so much, but of course we are 14 gods. Now 9 gods in Genesis of chapter 1 and 5 gods in Genesis of chapter 2. Now, this is all a discovery through numerology and really getting to understand the construct of this wonderful book that we have called the Holy Bible. It may have given us a hard time in the past to think, well, what is all this about? A God creating someone and say, oh, he created them in his own image and likeness as a he, him, and a he, them. What's all that about? He, them, or he, him. Of course, we know about male and female, man and woman, but he, him, and he, them. What's all that about? These are things we are intending to really get our ideas, not just our thinking, our understanding around those. Now, I think, as I say about the he, him, and the he, them, of course, there is another two. It would seem like there's a makeup in that sense of 6 entities in that makeup itself, which is said that we are of 6 intelligences or entities, but the he them would really come like one, like the makeup of one in itself. It's like saying now that we are of 14, and of course this 14 is in subdivision of 7 and 7, and of course under the umbrella of that which we see as ourselves as one, as number 5, when integrated together we all become number 5, which is Mother Eve, which is the Christ spirit, which is what I have just found out, which is the Jerusalem. Now this is, I mean, Mother Eve is taking me places like I never really expected to. I never dreamt of. You know, I know about the Jews and Seventh-day Adventists, of course, share the Sabbath, and there are things about the Jews are not the first Jews or the main Jews, and you know, it just goes on. Now the word Jews in itself, I think, equals 3. Now I have done a numerical presentation showing Jerusalem as 3. So in case you have watched this, I'm just going to rectify. I believe that I miscounted on there, and that is not by chance, because I tried to double check and I still came up with the number 3. I think that is Mother Eve just having a little warm up with me right now, considering that I was woken up very early in the morning to discover a bit more about Jerusalem. So let's just do the numerical value for the word Jerusalem, and then we can explore what we are talking about here. So if you're new, of course, to numerology, I'll just give you a quick summary of how it works. Just make this, of course, there's lots on YouTube about how to do numerology, but this is just giving me an opportunity, of course, to introduce you to Mother Eve. Mother Eve, of course, have had several makeovers through this process, and she's a little bit happier now in this one. I think the very first introduction was quite happy, because it's like saying, oh yeah, finally someone's ready to listen to me. I'm not what they have said I am. I want you to understand that. And there was an excitement in her face, we could say. And then she went sad, because I think it's like really like a mother being sort of feeling sad about having to relate a sad story. So we see that depiction happened throughout quite a few of the presentations on Crime Queen. And now she's a little bit she's much happier, but we can see that there is a sort of balance, because one eye is much brighter than the other, and one and this was not, this just happens. That's Mother Eve making her presence felt in the way she wants to be seen. That's what the serpent does. You know, it can camouflage itself, it can change its skin, it can change its location. You know, it just is that way. That means it is everything. It's capable of being sly. It's capable of being friendly. So we see that across the board, that children can play with snakes or serpents, and yet still there are other people who, you know, get killed by, you know, or stung by one of them. Okay. And there is so much, isn't it also the vermin of the serpent that really heals the serpent? This is so crucial for us to remember, and that is what is happening right here on this channel. That is like so profound for me right now. This is where Mother Eve is saying, you have learned to be scared and frightened of me, but that feeling of that which you have experienced, I want you to come home with it, and let's re-examine where these feelings came from, where these teachings came from, where these phobias came from. And she wants to now present us the chance to heal us of those fears and inhibitions. And so that is really very profound revelation. And I have to say thank you, Mother Eve, because now she's really just speaking through me now. Okay, and the word me, I also want to make that acknowledgement. Me equals 9. So when we say me, we are talking of the overall me, the overall birthing. The number 9 is the number of birth. It births. So it's that birthing is a realization. So we can say in this sense that 9 is a realization of a demarcation or newness, another phase. Okay, so just to give you a quick intro on this, in case you're new, this is devised on the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Of course, that was done around Easter time, and there we have where Christ, of course, we could say that we go through different cycles. This template have showed us that we go through cycles in life. Now, all those cycles may also come under 3 main sections. So each section, like from 1 to 3 here, which equals 6. And then, of course, when added together, when I say equals 6, but when added together, all these columns of the letters of the alphabet and in their numerical values, we get this pattern of 369, 369, 369. If you are into numbers, you would see that this 369 come very often with Nikola Tesla, mathematicians who had been showing the significance or trying to find out the significance of 369. So I'm very excited about this because when I first encountered the pattern, which might have been about 2 years ago, just playing with numbers and just putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I was really looking at the numbers both ways and in different angles, and I thought, well, I'm getting 666 on one end and I'm getting 369 on another. I was very fascinated about that because of course they multiple of threes, and so when I also further on understood that Nikola Tesla in one of his documentaries, or people who were following his work, said that if anyone could really master the meaning of 369, it would mean that they have solved the issues of life, and I got even more excited about that. And so basically I'm feeling after we have been intuitively guided to do this sacrifice template. We're talking about Easter time. Easter time, where people were really having their Easter eggs, and they're talking about hens and chicken and cock, or fish rather. Sorry, I said rooster I meant, and however that sounded. And of course, because I'm thinking about again the story of the cock crowing 3 times, and those things. But I was just really thinking about sacrifice, really wanting to understand sacrifice. And although of course I do understand through my own experience of having written 2 volumes on Cry Me Queen, journey of actualizing self love, I felt that I had known firsthand what sacrifice really means. But it's the idea or the teaching that Christ's death was really to take those things away from my own experience. That was the notion that I had before. It's like when you accept that Christ had died for your sins to save you, you wouldn't have to go through all this pain again. But there I was going through all of those pains, even in my beliefs and understanding and in my love and for Christ's teaching and acceptance. Well, that really gave me a lot to think about. So I still wanted to understand a bit more about sacrifice. Okay, so just to go on here. So this is where we do the jazz. We could say this is where Christ had met with his disciples, and he said, come on, I'll make you fishers of men, and so on. And then on the A, of course, the A is really where A symbolizes the pyramid of building your house or building your empire or building your family or building whatever it is. You have the foundation and you are moving on, so you can see growth is developing in what you are doing, thinking, whatever it is. So of course with the A, and it's like the catalyst of whatever you are doing too, in a sense, because under the A, this is where you are working as a team, you are working with others, you are doing whether it was the two sides of your brain, let's not go too far with this, or your 2 hands, or your 2 minds, or your 2 nostrils. These are the things we need. We are going closer home to understanding the makeup of A in that sense. And so much so that A is found in as the centered letter in the word heart and also in the word brain. So I really want to, when I do this, it's like I want to do this as bite size so people can get an understanding of what we are talking about and our makeup overall. So there we say, there is where the bonding with Christ and his disciples will, of course, that comes on the number 2 as well. 2 is really bond, fellowship, partnership, union, marriage, love, and even where it is all of those things where interaction, where people are interacting, where you can get any form of interaction. There has to be more than two. Okay, two or more, all right. It also reminds me of a text that Christ says, where two or three gather in my name. So Christ is really trying to teach us about our makeup in this sense. So there we have 3 for luck. And 3, of course, we heard for luck, but this is where we see for ourselves, even with the letter C right under it, because there's the other thing, that every letter is associated with parts of our bodies. So, or the crux of that which we hinge anything on. So C is really like the ocean, or is really that we see with our eyes. It denotes sight. And hair, so we of course the L, we see how L also is like C in that sense. I have done letters, an unread letter, so you can see this video as well talking about C. You will understand more about L. L is the 3, L is pinnacle. This is where on this 3 hair we get to have 9 hair, so that is really telling us about completion of a cycle at that point. It is on either point, it is telling us we are ready to move into another cycle, which is the 9, and then we go into 3, then we go into developmental stage. I call it developmental street. This is where we get to really familiarize ourselves with our north, our south, our east, our west, because 4 is really 4 points, or 4 is really foundation. And of course that's these are the things around that. Then of course we move on to the new, which is number 5 and 5 and 6. And when we add these together, we can see again 5 plus 6 here gives us 11, which takes us back to number 2. That also reminds me to count 4 plus 3 here, which is 7. It's like saying this is where you need to really realize that you are 7. We are in that middle spectrum. And as I have spoken about the 2 sevens of our brain, meaning the 7 entities or intelligences to each side of our brain or our makeup, and the gods, I'm talking about the gods here, and when they are integrated, which means that is how we apply their principles or learnings or attributes in our makeup and development, they become 5, which is where we become new. It is that you have mixed 2 compositions, or you are forming a composition of 2 elements, and then you form something new. Okay, so of course in the new now has a name, hasn't? But of course I have now discovered that that name comes like a fox, but it comes like men. So this is where men really come. Now this is so beautiful. Now the picture that comes to mind, we always hear about God created man. So there is man, but when man and man, or woman, which is 2 men, come together, then they become men. So this is where the word men, with the W turned upside down, would be men. And of course this is why Mother Eve is asking us to count back right now, so we can look at things from different angles. So even while I am saying NEW as new, Mother Eve is asking us to look at MEN as well. It's like XOF, whatever that would be, or it's just looking at things differently to see what sense we make of them. So, of course, getting that realization here, so that would mean there is a 7 here in that section, and getting our orientation around that, to understand that we are of 6 entities. So we have 6 gods, and we have 6, and we are the makeup of 6 entities. But remembering there's a day of rest that has been given, it would seem like the gods had created us in the 6th, on the 6th day, and we are of those 6 entities. So there was 7 gods, and it's like each, of course, would take a day of rest from their work, and maybe that's when they brought their work together and say, okay, this is what I have done, I'm finished. This is where, like Christ said, it is finished. And then the other set said, well, it is finished, and they brought the 2 sets together. So bringing us together in that sense is that they had finished from their works and say, okay, well, that is done, we are happy with that. And so with that understanding, it also meant that they deposit within us that sense of the day of rest, which we know with the Jews and the Seventh-day Adventists, Christians, they honor the day of rest. Of course, a lot of other people do that too, just that they may not have it under the name of a religion or something, but I'm just giving a reference here. So there we see, of course, that would so there is the realization of that 7, which is coming into that new state, and of course the being a fox, meaning we have the responsibility to be wise, be cunning, be wow, be with the understanding that you are a new creature, so to speak. Then we have on the 7, this is the, of course, like the journey, and here, of course, as I say, the 7 is denoting the day of rest, but it is also we can see why it is also the day of rest when we add 3 plus 7, that gives us 10. So it's the day of balance. It's the day of recognition. It's the day of where left meets right and the opposite. So the day of work and the day of rest is just meeting at that point of just being perfect, because the word perfect equals 10. So it's that journey of realization. And then we have the 8, number 8 is really headquarters zone, I call it. A headquarters zone is, of course, is where of course you go through that cycle. It is like the realization or demarcation of a complete cycle, where one needs to take into account, what do we do next, and what is the cost of what is it going to cost us to get. This is where you get your balance sheet in order, or your paperwork, or your everything is complete in that sense. But it's just like we see in our daily activities or life, there's always a cycle. The cycle always need to be broken in a way to move on to another cycle. So that's what headquarters zone is like. And of course, by that acknowledgement, it takes you to the inland revenue. We use those terms because they're very applicable to us today. And of course, it was all intuitively guided through, again, I believe I would say Mother Eve was really guiding us here. each of these sections, as I say, the 3 sections, when we add this together, is the 666. So the 666, of course, is the is seen as the beast that is spoken of in Revelation. Of course, we have Revelation here as part of our template. Revelation right here, and water, and we can see that by even calling this into our being, into these presentations, into revealing and to make transparent, like water, for instance, has been so evident in that it really reflects a lot, which is Mother Eve. And of course, in the middle of the word water, we see is the word et, A-T-E, which reminds us that that's what the whole story was about with Mother Eve, and she ate of the fruit. And having ate of the fruit, there's another thing I also notice. The letter W, which is the first, and the letter R of water also becomes 59. So we see that the crucial points that we are asked to pay attention to is here in the new, and what are we prepared to give to the inland revenue, number 9. And now we see that 5 denotes ending and 9 denotes beginning, which is when we do the numerical value for beginning, it is 9, and the numerical value for end is 5. So we can do that here. So this beginning is 2, 5, 7, 9, 5, 5, 9, 5, 7. So we can see even in the word there seems to be a very strong pattern here. We have 5, 9, 7. Oh, Mother Eve is going to help me here now. 5, 9, and we have 5, 7. So when we add this up, this is 7 plus 7, 14. Let's just say 3 7s, 21, and here would be 31, and this would be 40, of course, and this would be 45. So 4 plus 5 is 49. 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay, so this would be 9. So, and we do end, E-N-D is 5, 5, 4. Of course, that is 14, which is in direct match to Mother Eve. When we do EVE is 5, 4, 5. So Mother Eve is showing here, it's like when you come to the end, because the V is as if it were our nose between our eyes, you could say, just for instance. But you come to the end, the nose is like the 2 eyes would have come to be made single, as in Matthew, the book of Matthew. Your 2 eyes have been, or you have turned that V upside down, and you are able to see, the 2 E's come together and form, and then this is behind the E's because they have come together, and like the 4 becomes there. So you have come to that end. The pattern in how the numbers or letters are positioned tells a lot about what's happening. Okay, so for instance, those 2 ends here, even with 2 ends, it's like saying the 2 ends have come together to form a whole. When we get 2 ends together, I think this is really offering me a very good insight to how I wanted to understand end. So when we see 2 ends together, 2 ends come together. They are together. They're literally together. The 2 ends come together, so they form the whole. We're just having all the ends together. But that is the serpent really having fun with us right now. So this is Mother Eve. putting the two ends together. So because Mother Eve is asking us to go back, and so as we see, the word beginning actually is like we have begin, and we have learned beginning. So what I have learned now is that beginning, because 5 and 9, you can't really tell where one end and where one begins. So beginning, because 5 is in the middle of 1 to 9. So 5 is in the middle here. So basically, if we are saying there's an end here, then in actual fact there is a beginning there. But we see how 9, this is the interplay of the words. When we do the numerical value for 9, it becomes 6. So basically 9, and so we see 5 and 9. This is why Mother Eve is asking us now to start counting 5, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So basically Mother Eve is asking us to turn this section, to turn it the other way. So now I am saying, when we say begin, which is IN here, the begin here, it goes on that stage. It's like having a cycle. So this is why there is an interplay. So here we are, begin and end. So if I were to do this, then one would not be able to tell where I have really, where the beginning is and where the end is. And that is what the word itself is telling us right there. So basically, BE has to be on this end as well. BEGIN, begin, again, GI, begin, yes. BE, so there is that other BE happening here, BEGIN. Okay, hope you get it. So, Jerusalem, I wanted to do to complete on Jerusalem here. I'm not sure if I even mentioned Jerusalem yet, but basically I got up this morning and realizing that Jerusalem is Eve, because I was woken up about minutes to 3 in the morning. I think it was, when I checked, it might have been 2:45 in the morning, and 2:45, which is interesting. 2:45, that's what I recall. So this is 9, 10, 11, wow, which is 2. So of course I began to read the book where I just opened up to Nehemiah. So Nehemiah, if I remember how Nehemiah is spelled, Maya, I think I've got it correct. So I think it is, so I woke up to Nehemiah and of course realized all the E's in Nehemiah. So this is 5, 5, 8, 5, 4, 9, 1, 8. Okay, so this is 9 plus 9, so 3 9s 27, 37, that would be 45. So we have just said about 45, and Nehemiah is 45. So that means Nehemiah is in line with beginning. Wow. This is because I have been like asking for some light on, wow, I have been asking some light on how to move forward in exploring the word beginning. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 letters, and it's 5. We have 5 and 8 at the ends, which would be 13. Of course, this is what I call 13, the incubator. So I am getting a message right here that I need to explore Nehemiah much more, because there's the incubator. What I have already depicted is the module, we could say, of the 14 gods. the module of learning about the 14 gods. I saw that in Nehemiah, and of course the chakras as well. So all these talk about restoring Jerusalem. Wow, restoring Jerusalem is restoring the chakras and restoring and getting balance with the 14 gods that we are made of. That is in Nehemiah. I am saying that very confidently, although I have only read 3 chapters, and I don't think I read some of them quite thoroughly, because of course that's why a lot of people give up on these chapters, because they have names that we have not learned to pronounce, and so we just say, oh, not bother to pronounce them properly, and we just try and get the gist, which I call the juice of the book or the message. Whereas I think we are now being called to pay attention to the amount of entries of whatever is being conveyed there, because those books, like I have also realized, I had similar message with the book of Ezekiel. Okay, so I'm going to well, just to let you see that of course we have got end, which is 5. When we add 1 plus 4 together, that equals 5, like in the name Eve. And we see now that Nehemiah is offering us quite a message here about Jerusalem. And let me just see who Jerusalem, or what Jerusalem is, before we close. When I say close, sounds like like a sermon, like I'm giving a sermon. Oh my. Before we end, let's go about end, but close as well. CLOSE, that's 5, 6 and 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15. So close is 9. 15 plus 3 is 18. So close is 9. So that's okay before we both. So whether we talk about end or close, we are talking about Eve. We are talking about beginning and end. So this, I'm going to leave close here for a while. Okay. Right. So 3. So 5, 4. I am not sure why I felt I checked this several times on the other presentation, which I'm going to review to understand how I came up with the numbers I did. So this is 9, 10, 13, 14, 17, 26, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So I just to ensure that I was getting it correct, I did those little strokes, which is how they began to learn how to count anyway. That's how we learned. Okay. So so it's 32. Now this coincides with Christ. It really makes me want to smile. Well, of course, that of course the Jews don't see Christ as the Savior, or as Christians do. And excuse me. And really, there is such a strong correlation with Jerusalem and Christ, because when we do Christ, C-R-I-S-T, it is 389912, and we add this together. This is 20. This is 31, 32. 32. So I've got a tickle in my throat, so I'm going to of course end this presentation, and thank you for joining us. Let's deal with this. Thanks.